All right, so I'll call the Morgan Grove Public Library Board of Trustees regular meeting of April 13th to order. So if we could rise and say the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we can call the roll.
Albers.
Here.
Bird.
Here.
Calvin.
Here.
Gonzalez. Gray here. Hill.
Here. All right, we got a little change in agenda order tonight, so we're gonna let our visitor talk first and cover the auditor's results. So, all yours.
All right, well, thank you very much. On behalf of SIC, I'd like to thank the board for inviting us to present the report resulting from the audit for your year ended December 31st, 2016. You should have two documents. One is the annual financial report, and the second is our communication to the board. I thought we would start with the annual financial report. So if you want to grab that report, we'll walk you through some highlights. As we're going through the report, don't hesitate to stop me and ask questions. It is not, I encourage that. I never want you to end up with questions unanswered.
Do you want to see? I can know my just.
Great, thanks, Pam. Just past the table of contents, page 1 is the independent auditor's report. So this is on Sickage letterhead because this is where we give our opinion on the financial statements. In order for us to give an opinion on the financial statements, we're required to follow two sets of standards. One are the auditing standards issued by the AICPA, which tells us the types of procedures that we need to perform when we're conducting our audit. And then the second set of standards are the financial reporting standards issued by the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, or GASB, which tells us the format of what the financial statements, the notes to the financial statements, basically what this document's required to look like based on the standards that come from GASB. Once we follow those two sets of standards, we can then give an opinion on the financial statements. We're pleased to present an unmodified opinion. And what that means is that the financial statements are presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, free of material misstatement. So that's also what's referred to as a clean opinion, so no exceptions. If you turn from there over to page 3, page 3 is the first audited financial statement, and page 3 is what I like to refer to as a consolidated or global financial statement. For a local government, you're not used to seeing capital assets and long-term liabilities necessarily in how you go about budgeting, but rather you're budgeting the inflows and outflows of cash. So this statement on page 3 shows capital assets, and it also shows long-term liabilities. Now, you might recall that last year GASB changed what it defines as a long-term liability with a new standard related to pensions. So your portion of the IMRF liability when you participate with the village, and then also your portion of the MRF pension plan liability became a liability on this statement for the first time. Now, it didn't change the way you funded the plan, but it makes your financial statements look different. So if you look down in the non-current liabilities section, you see two lines, 101,000 and then 3.5 million. Just under 3.1 million of those liabilities is your share of the MRF liability. 345,000 is your your share of the IMRF liability, and then the hard liability, most of us that would understand would be a liability, is the remaining amount of 150,000 roughly on your loan payable. So that was a line of credit that was then converted to a term loan during the year. Now, because of that, down in the net position section, when we divide up the capital assets versus the unrestricted net position, just by putting those liabilities on the financial statements, it makes that unrestricted position be negative. But it's not anything that you did to cause it to be negative, it's simply when you implemented that GASB standard last year. So a lot of governments, a lot of libraries and library districts, that number is negative now. Not for any mistake that anyone made, just a change in how pensions are accounted for on the financial statements for GASB. So this page 3, as we turn to page 4, the statement of activities, which is kind of a sister statement or income statement, to page 3, these two statements are statements that you only see in the annual audit report, and it's required to receive that clean, unmodified opinion. So that's why they're here, but it's not really how you budget and appropriate. So when you look at the information here, this includes depreciation on your capital assets, so it's not really how we operate kind of on a cash mindset. What we're more used to seeing begins on page 5. So page 5 is more of a short-term focus. It's a balance sheet. It has assets and liabilities still, but you notice we don't have capital assets, we don't have long-term liabilities. Now, the one liability that was on this statement last year is anytime you have a short-term liability, meaning it's expected to be paid off or it has a term of less than a year, it's a fund liability on this balance sheet. So last year, when your loan that you had for your project was a short-term line of credit, it had a balance of $150,000 last year, that was on this statement. This year, that was converted to a loan that's a longer-term loan, more than 1 year, so it comes off this statement. So just by doing that, it increased your fund balance. It didn't really, you're not better off or worse off because you converted it. It's simply the accounting change. So when we look at this statement, we look at fund balance, which is essentially the reserves that you had available as of the beginning of the fiscal year that you're operating in now. So your general fund had just over $889,000 in reserves, if you will, at December 31st. And then your special reserve fund had $1,000 as well. So how did we get to those balances? That's what you see on page 7. So page 7 is the revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balances during the year. So if we focus on your general operating fund, you had $3,374,000 in revenues, with expenditures of $3,109,000, and this is consolidated at a higher level, and there's more information in the back of the report that shows the detail. But you can see under debt service, after you converted the line of credit to a term loan, you then started making payments on that loan, and your principal payments that you made during the year were $49,000 and change. So as I mentioned, when we change that philosophy of a short-term loan to a longer-term loan, then it generates essentially a revenue onto this statement, which is the loan proceeds down in other financing sources of $200,000. Overall, you had an increase then in fund balance of $491,000. So you started the year at fund balance of $398,000 and ended at $889,000. Now, if you flip back just for one more second, I should have pointed one other thing out on page 5. So on page 5 of the balance sheet, most will focus on how much cash did we have in the bank. Cash and fund balance can be dramatically different depending on how much in bills that you had accrued at the end of the year, so like payables and accruals, that kind of thing. It's not a huge difference for you. You had $44,000 in accounts payable and accrued wages, so that's why your cash balance of $934,000 is not much different. So when you see that throughout the year, we're not seeing a dramatic difference between that and fund balance. Just want to make sure we try and drill down on some of those points on the financial statements. So in the notes to the financial statements, if you turn to note number 2 on page 14, one of the note number 2 is a discussion about the deposits and investments of the library, specifically related to your investment policy. And one of the tests that we do when we're doing our audit is a test of, are your deposits collateralized? So you receive $250,000 in FDIC insurance, and then as a local government, you can then have your deposits collateralized by your financial institution. Now, during the year, because you had revenues over expenditures, you had more in the bank than you had in prior years, and therefore some of the balances in your financial accounts were over and above the $250,000, and they just weren't collateralized yet. So that's something you want to look into. You see in note number 2A that $327,000 of your deposits were uncollateralized. All that says is, if the bank were to go under, that you would not have those dollars. So I don't know if that's already been remedied, but you want to take action.
I had gotten it.
It's something that you want to do, to get that in place.
Sure.
just so that you're in compliance with your investment policy and also, protection of public funds. There's no specific cost to that collateralization, albeit the bank may, tell you that your interest rate might change on your deposits, but your interest rate on your deposits in this environment is not, it's extraordinary as well. So there's, from that standpoint, it's not a practical, large dollar amount. Let's turn over to some pension information. If you turn over to page, well, first let's go to page 30, which has a little more detail on the operations of the general fund for the year in some, still some broad categories of revenues and expenditures, but as it relates to budget. So this is the same income statement that we saw at the front of the report, it's just that we have the budget number here. So this shows you that it's always good financial policy to budget revenues conservatively, and then similarly on the expenditure side. So you had revenues greater than what was budgeted, and then you had expenditures less than what was budgeted, and that's what generated that surplus. And that tells you that $265,000 tells you that you're structurally in balance. You can afford to provide the services that you're providing within the revenue streams that you're able to receive. And that's always something that you want to be focusing on. Now, you went through a stretch where you had a lot of capital improvements, so we didn't always see that when you had so much in capital. That's not a true sense of whether we're structurally in balance or not. But now we're starting to see after the projects that you've done that indeed you have those dollars. In fact, you're able to make significant repayment on the loan that you had. Basically dropping that off by close to $50,000. So pension information begins on page 31. So IMRF, you statutorily pay in a certain amount to the village that the village in turn pays to IMRF each and every month. So therefore, the amount that you pay in is exactly what's required. So the schedule on page 31 tells you the budgetary impact of your participation in IMRF. So it's $100,000 in fiscal year 2015 and $107,000 in fiscal year 2016. Sometimes measured as a percent of covered payroll, so it's 9.5% of payroll for the year. Page 32 then says, okay, one piece of a pension, of the health of a pension plan is, did we put in what we were supposed to put in? So the answer to that is yes. And then the second piece of that puzzle is, so if we measure the liability for a pension plan being the participants in the plan and what the actuary estimates the future payouts are going to be to those individuals when they retire, if we say that's a gas tank and the assets are filling up the gas tank, it tells us what percentage full we are of the overall gas tank. And that's what we find on page 32. So the bottom number there, the 77.26%, that's how full the gas tank is. The top line is telling you you're participating in a plan that the village is the overall employer, if you will, because IMRF thinks of the village only as the employer. The library is just participating with the village. So your share of that total liability is 22.74%, which your portion that's up on that global financial statement is $345,000. But you're 77% full.
I'm 77% funded on my pension obligation.
Yes.
So that, I consider over 70% healthy.
And I would agree with
What's your position?
So anywhere between, I say that 75% to 80% and over, good shape.
All right.
Agree with
cool.
the 70.
All right.
Now, the MRF is kind of a different animal, right?
Yeah.
Because that's not a statutory setup like where all governments are the same. MRF was a local plan
Yeah.
that was phased out. Now, MRF the village engaged a new actuary for the MRF plan during 2015. That because the previous actuary retired. So that actuary looked at the results in the MRF plan over the last several years, and in discussing this with the village said, your rate of return assumption for investments was not realistic. That rate of return assumption was decreased in 2015 from 7% to 4.5% in 1 year. That's a huge change. And right away, that's it. When you take because how an actuary does their work is they take the individuals that are active employees in the plan plus the retirees, and they say, what's the future liability? And then they present value that back using that interest rate assumption. And for a lot of us, this goes way over here, and that's fine. All you need to understand is when you lower that assumption of what we're gonna earn by that amount, that means the liability goes.
Your gas tank's not quite as full.
Your gas tank is much,
Yeah.
much more empty, so,
Yeah.
That was a big payment we had to make.
right, so if you.
Oh, yeah, we had the.
If you look at page 33 then, so are we as the library doing the right thing? Yes, we're putting in exactly what the actuaries recommended, but it went from 146,000 to 223,000.
Yeah.
And when our gas tank's not as full, we would expect that those dollars are gonna continue at that level or more. That's just the reality of the situation. So on page 34, and one thing I failed to mention with both IMRF and MRF, in the interest of, you might recall last year, the audit was significantly delayed, and that had to do with the fact that we were waiting for IMRF to finish their actuarial evaluation, and then we were also waiting for MRF to finish their actuarial evaluation. This being the second year of the new pension standard, we were then allowed to move the audit forward and not wait for the 2016 information, because that's kind of out of your control. We knew IMRF was at best going to have their information in May, and MRF, we didn't really know. That was kind of in the hands of the village providing the data along with the investment manager to the actuary for the village. So we, in working with Pam, we recommended, in the interest of keeping you moving forward with your audit information and getting timely financial information to you, that we report the 2015 information again. Now, I would encourage you to gather the information from the village as the other information becomes available, so that you can report on that in the interim. It's not like you have to wait for next year's audit to find out how full the gas tank was at 12/31/16, but these are 12/31/15 numbers. So if we finish out our last piece of the MRF plan and we look at how full the gas tank is, and we have two components. We have the liability component, we have the net position or asset component. The liability component went up during 2015, went up by 1.4 million. 1,385,000 of that is that change in assumption from 7% to 4.5%. So the liability went from 3.3 million to 4.7 million. You did exactly what you were supposed to do. You put in the dollars. That was the 2015 year that you put 146,000 in. The investments earned $42,000, so 2015 was also not a good investment year. Pension benefit payments were 160,000, so the assets went up by 33,000. So the assets at the end of 2015 were 1.6 million. So our gas tank was 34% full. And that 3,094,000 is that liability that I told you was up on that top financial statement. I would encourage you to keep a dialogue going that I'm sure that you have with the village, to make sure that they're providing you with timely information for what you would anticipate the contributions to be to the MRF for each and every year, and also what they anticipate to be the timing on the actuarial evaluations for MRF. We know from our, from IMRF as a whole, that they've told all the local agencies that that valuation will be available sometime in May.
Question.
Yes.
How do you determine how much contribution you have to put in to keep a healthy pace on the growth of the pension?
So for the plans, what they do is, we know that, we know the amount that still needs to go in, we know the dollar amount of the amount that still needs to go in the gas tank, right? So for MRF, it's $3,094,000. So they take that $3,094,000 and they divide that up over a period of years. It's usually about 25 years. And that's a portion that you have to pay in each and every year, a portion of the unfunded liability. And then you also pay in a portion for what's called the normal cost, which is basically everyone working another year. Because as everyone works another year, they're vested one more year in the plan. So there's two components to that, and it rolls out over IMRF is kind of on a rolling 30-year basis. MRF is on a closed basis for, I have to remind myself, I want to say it's another 25 years. I believe the MRF is on a 25-year close rate going through 2040.
Are the monies invested by somebody who?
Yes, the monies are invested through, the way the plan was set up through, is through an insurance company. So that's how the monies are managed, an investment / insurance company.
They're invested in CNA.
CNA, that's right, I couldn't remember the
Do they
name.
have a target return to make it kind of solid as you go along?
They do. I would also encourage you to reach out to the village to have them provide you with the information on how those dollars are invested as well.
Yeah, because that's one of the factors.
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
But they're not earning anywhere near what IMRF is earning. So that's the question. I mean, it's worth it. It's a good point to ask those questions of why and what can be done differently related to that plan.
MRF only covers 3 of our employees right now, right? There's only 3 left that are still on MRF. Everyone else that is under IMRF. But
Right. It's just that you still have
we still
a
have
number of
to pay into it. Yeah,
retirees
that are still
on the
receiving
plan
payment.
that you're
Yeah.
responsible for.
Why wasn't the 3 renewal, was it given an option?
At the time that the village and the library switched, prior to 2005, the village and the library were, everyone was on the SMRF plan. And in 2005, the village switched over to IMRF. And at that time, they gave employees a choice to either stay with the MRF plan or to move to IMRF. And so there were a number of employees, both at the library and at the village, that chose to stay with the MRF plan for whatever reason at that time. But as time has gone on, there's fewer and fewer people paying into the plan, more people taking money out of it.
Right.
And so we're still having to cover that. But
Right.
that was the choice that the village and the library administration at that time made, to give people that choice. So.
All very good questions. Those were the highlights of the annual financial report from my perspective, but I'd be happy to answer any other questions that you might have on that. The second document is our communication to the board. This includes a few components. One component is under those auditing standards that I referred to at the beginning. We have certain required communication to those, what the standard calls those charged with governance. So you all are charged with governing the library, so this is our required communication to you, the board. So if you turn to page 2, that begins our required communication, and it talks about accounting policies and the fact that you didn't have any changes to significant accounting policies during the year. Talks about accounting estimates. So the biggest estimate that you have in your financial statements relates to your MRF and your IMRF plan. So the good news could be that maybe MRF does earn more than 4.5%. Then that estimate, it's all an estimate on what those liabilities are. So those are the most significant estimates because changing that interest rate assumption obviously changes the liability up or down dramatically. We didn't have any difficulties in performing the audit. In fact, the audit went very smoothly. You have very good staff, very helpful, and between Pam and Blanche, they made the process go very smoothly. Page 3 talks about corrected and uncorrected misstatements. So anytime you do an audit, you would expect that the auditor would have certain recommended adjustments to the financial statements, and we have those adjustments included, and I'll show you those as well. We didn't have any disagreements with management. If we had any disagreements, you wouldn't be hearing about it for the first time tonight. That would have been something that would have been discussed. If you turn over to page 5, 6 and 7 are the adjustments that we recommended to the financial statements. And not uncommon to have, like I said, they have adjustments to the financial statements. The majority of the adjustments related to the complex accounting related to pensions, and also related to moving that loan transaction from being a fund liability to a long-term liability. And some adjustments related to accounts payable. So those go on page 5 through 7. So then, if it hasn't already been done, then Blanche records these journal entries to the accounting system so that your system closes in sync with the audit. So if you have any, I don't know if you've posted these entries or not yet, but yeah, so we want to make sure we have that conversation. So then, after page 7, then we get to the section, it's called the management letter. It's essentially, this is where we provide you any recommendations that we have. So if you look at page 10, so understand that in the form of recommendations, if there was a material weakness in your internal controls or a material weakness related to your financial reporting, that's what it would be classified as. Then there's significant deficiency, and then there's other comments. We classified these 3 items as other comments, so they're not as severe, and they're also, I think, fairly easy to remedy. The first item on page 10 talks about anytime that you have dollars coming in that are revenues, while a specific project might be funded with a specific revenue, you always want to track those separately as revenues and expenditures. So you may come to the board, the staff may come to the board and say, we received this additional donation, so because we received this additional donation, we recommend to the board that we spend it on this project. And that's perfectly fine.
I believe this was when we got that refund from the insurance.
Right.
So, and
Right.
we had,
Exactly. So it's just how things are recorded in the financial statements. We talked about the uncollateralized deposits, and then number 3 is a very common comment with a lot of our clients. So a journal entry in the accounting system is a way to correct something that's been done or to change something that's been done. And so you always want 2 sets of eyes looking at journal entries. So we want to make sure that if Blanche recommends a journal entry, that Pam then signs off on the entry. You always want two sets of eyes on journal entries as a check and balance. Then we move into future accounting pronouncements. GASB is always up to something, and the one new GASB standard on page 11 that has a potential impact on the financial statements, albeit I doubt a very material impact, is GASB statement 75, which is called post-employment benefits. Some will call it OPEB, stands for other post-employment benefits. This is effective for your December 31st, 2018 audit. Essentially what that says is if you have insurance, if you've pledged insurance for retirees where they're not going to reimburse you the full cost of the health insurance, then potentially you have a liability to report. I'm not aware of any such agreement that you have with any individual or individuals. So that's the only GASB standard that should impact your financial statements. Page 13 then is the status of the comments from last year's audit. So these 2 items were reported in last year's management letter, and then we give you a status update, and you can see that both of those comments were implemented during the year. So that's how the audit goes full cycle, and where you get that reporting, and that you can see that that the board along with staff then took that into consideration and implemented both of those comments. I kind of walked you through that kind of quickly, but I can drill down on anything in more detail and answer any questions that you might have.
One question for you would be, is there somebody who could come talk to us about some of the questions Dr. Kalnick had, or somebody you could talk to at the village? I don't know which would make more sense.
I can find out.
Okay.
Or, you know, if you want, I can, if you've got, send me a list of specific questions, I can, you know, try to find out from the village, but I can find out if someone can come and talk about those as well. Probably it would be Hannah, the financial person over there, I would think. Yeah, the MRF gets really confusing.
Yeah, I just, it's interesting
Well, I
to
know-
hear that it's
yeah.
not doing as well as the IMRF, and maybe if it's possible.
Yeah, and I don't know off the top of my head,
Yeah.
you know, who at the village, if someone's actually looking at the funds that they're investing in and that, you know, that, because it's all through CNA, so I don't know how much attention anyone at the village
Yeah,
pays
maybe it's
to
somebody at
what.
CNA.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, so I don't, like, we can find that out.
Yeah, I think it'd be a very good idea for you to contact Hannah, and the timing of when that gets presented would be a really good plan when, if they have an idea of when those 12/31/16 actuarial evaluations available, so they can give you an update on the health of the plan, how full the gas tank is, and they can also give you some feedback on, so do you think CNA is performing well? Is there, you know, how are those dollars invested? You know, why are they invested in such a way? And hope, because it should be, the village should be able to give you that kind of feedback, but getting the updated financial report as well, I think would be, because you can also see how those investments performed in 2016. 2016 was, for most pension plans, a much better investment year than 2015, so I think that'd be a really good, you know, dialogue
Yeah,
to have.
I can reach out to her and see. if
I don't know how good my questions would be.
No,
And
yeah.
it's possible that there may be a dialogue with village officials about how the MRF plan is doing, and they may open that invitation to library board members to come to that. Because I would imagine there's village board members that are probably asking similar questions
Because the village
about.
is the same thing, they've got some people that are still on MRF,
Right.
a decreasing number, and then everyone else is on IMRF.
But when that interest rate assumption was changed, it wasn't just changed for the libraries, it was changed for the whole thing. So they saw those large changes in those numbers as well.
I don't believe so.
I think it's just the
It's
village and the
village.
So
library.
it's managed by CNA,
It's managed by CMA, yes.
okay, so CNA is an institutional investor, so they
Right.
got big bucks there too. But who determines what? Are they gonna be aggressive or semi-aggressive?
Those are all good questions.
Yeah.
And I don't know that, I mean, this,
Yeah.
like I said, the village kind of handles the higher level of that, and I don't know if there's someone at the village that's looking at that or has made some determinations, or, you know, years and years ago, they made the determination, and I don't know if anyone's looked at it since then, or whatever, those are just things that we've not ever been aware of.
Right.
So basically, it's been, you know, they let us know what we have to pay, and that's what we pay, so, but I can certainly find out if someone's taking a look at those.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea. I mean, because over the last 3 years, there was a lot of institutional knowledge that left the village that had very good knowledge of the plan, so I think you're asking very good questions.
Any sense?
I have nothing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Great questions. Enjoyed spending time with you this evening. And working with you throughout the year.
Thanks.
Hope it's a quick drive home.
It won't be too bad. I can listen to Blackhawk game nights.
There you go.
And my daughter's home from college tonight, so that'll be fun.
Keeps getting better.
Exactly.
Keeps getting better.
That's right. Yeah.
Great.
Thank you all very much.
Thank
All right,
you.
thank you.
And just give Mary and I our jingle about those.
Yeah, we'll.
Recording those adjustments, yep.
Thanks, Brian.
You're welcome. And happy Easter all.
You
Same
too,
to you.
thanks.
You go upstairs that way. We'll go out the main door. Thanks, Brian.
Bulls or playoffs?
Okay, so we can move along to number 3, the approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting of March 9, 2017. Can I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
A second.
I'll second.
Any questions, comments, or concerns? If none, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Alrighty, public comments on agenda items, any public item over there? None.
None.
President's report, none. Committee reports, finance,
Finance,
for March
okay. We
2017.
still have money.
Yay.
Everyone wants to know.
You do? Can I borrow some?
You'll notice on the cash statement that
Right.
Northern Trust is dwindling. I think you, all the checks have been cleared, so that'll probably be cleared out maybe next month, we'll see. Or
We're
not,
still waiting for a couple.
Yeah. Other than that, do we have any questions?
One question. On the, let's see, for the 3 months ending March 31st, 2016.
2016?
Yes. On page 2, 10-7020. Not the one, or is it the construction in progress? Now, did I write, I just started, why did I start it? I feel like there was something, because the current month actual and the current year to date were, in parentheses, or nothing else.
You're in
Is.
2016 and
So
2017.
what it is. I guess it's 2016, isn't it?
Okay.
These, I'm not gonna lie, confuse me.
Oh, thank you.
So you have a question?
I guess I
about-
just,
No.
why they were,
720.
why they were, tell me again what the parentheses are. Bill always tells me before I look at it, so that I remember at the time. Because I'm terrible, this is why I should never be on charge of the finance company.
Unused.
Unused, okay, so unused, that's not a problem. Okay. that's fine.
Unused on expenses, used on revenues.
Okay, one day I will read these. And then-
It's opposite day when you look at
It
these
is,
things.
it is confusing.
It's, yeah.
Never mind.
Anyone else have any questions about the income statement?
Any questions on the check register? Oh, you'll notice that it's two separate,
It's 2 totals this time.
yeah, it's two totals because the first page 1 and just page 1 is from, the Northern Trust check. So that you
Oh,
can see
running
how
this
big
one
the
down.
check numbers are real high, and then if you turn the page, the check number starts at 1,000, so that's, MB Financial,
Yeah.
so that's why. It is confusing, but that's the reason why. Any other?
There are 2 voids that you'll also see,
Okay.
and those are simply because we had so many invoices on one check that we needed an additional memo sheet, so it carried over to the next, it's the next
It's not
paycheck.
another check.
Right,
That
it was,
was
we had to
voided.
void the check because we needed the additional memo sheet for 2 checks, so.
That darn technology.
Not perfect. Are there any more questions?
None.
Not from me. So can I have a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
I'll motion to accept the treasurer's report.
Second.
No further questions or comments, could you call that one?
Albers,
Yes?
Bird,
Yes.
Calamay,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Gray, yes, Hill.
Yes.
All right. Anything on facilities this week? None? Policy, children in the library.
Um,
Who's allowing that?
we didn't make any changes on that policy, and even the staff didn't make any changes on that one. What's the next one on mine here?
So is that just a routine?
Yeah,
It's on our
it's just
schedule for
in-
review.
All right.
Yeah, it's an annual.
So we don't have to motion on that one? Just present it, there's no changes?
No changes.
Done, all right.
The credit card
Credit card
policy,
policy?
no changes on that one either. It's just a review, and you'll see it was revised in 2015.
The third one was just the one with the semicolon, which.
Right, it was just punctuation.
Yeah.
That's all it was.
Punctuation change.
There were just punctuation changes, so we really didn't change anything.
So this is just a presentation to
Just
fulfill
to say that
requirements
we've
of the
reviewed them
bylaws?
and, yeah.
All right. Review. Staff reports from our director.
You have our staff reports in your packets. I can't believe it's already, I almost said February, May. March went really fast. Probably the biggest thing for us was we had a lot of building-related issues that kind of started in March and continued over, or started in end of February, continued over into March. We have still not received, just kind of adding on to my written report, we haven't received the final, we have not passed the final inspection for the generator. Apparently there's not enough pressure coming into the generator. This is not anything that the library is responsible for, but the inspector's been out a couple times, we've had the MG Electric out a couple times, and they're working, we now are in the process of getting
So we have low
NICOR out
gas
there.
pressure
Yeah.
coming.
So NICOR is coming out to test to see if we can get more pressure coming into the building. If not, if they need to increase the size of the pipe coming in to the generator, that's on MG Electric, not us, because they bid out the project based on the specs they have. So it's working, I mean, it's installed, but we haven't passed the final inspection. We replaced our hot water heater, we thought that would be a real easy fix. I know I mentioned last time we didn't have a hot water or
We had no
a gas
shut
shut-off.
off, yeah.
So we had that installed, and then there was also a problem with non-standard pipe size, so we had to have those replaced as well. So our snow blower broke on the one day that we did get significant snow, so we went out and we purchased a new snow blower as well. And so Dave, every time he comes into my office, he says, you know, he starts out by saying, nothing's broken.
Have a good day.
Just to make sure, because it seems like every time he comes in, he's telling me something is not working right, we have to get something to come in and fix. But,
Job security for Dave.
a lot of job security for poor Dave, but, a lot of, you know, it's an increasingly aging facility, we knew that, and, you know, so our running joke now is that, you know, we're gonna have one expense line next year, that will be building.
Hot water tanks and building versus old building, new building.
Oh,
Right,
right, yeah. So, so that's kind of where we're at. Other than that, things are going pretty smoothly, I think. Yeah. Does anyone have any questions about either my report or anything going on with staff?
I wanted to look at your 2017 statistics.
Okay.
The one that's up, upper left-hand, circulation, adult and teen. Just looking, I'm just trying to take your temperature on this. So when I look at circulation for adult and teen on books, youth on books, that number seems to be up or consistent with previous years. When I look at download and streaming, which is all off-site accessible stuff,
Sure.
that's up. That's up over previous years.
Yes.
Is that a shift that's happening nationwide, more and more off-site usage of library stuff? So
Yeah.
less and less book, because when I look at all the other statistics, basically, everything else that involves people coming to the building is down. So which impacts staffing, utilities, wear and tear, and all that other fun
The thing
stuff.
to keep in mind though, so there is a lot more of remote access of things, particularly, downloadables, downloadables, downloadable books, downloadable, e-resource, like e-audiobooks, that kind of thing, and movies now as well, music. The stats are of physical materials is going down a little bit. Even people coming into the library is down a little bit, but if you notice though, the things that are going up as like reference questions are going up. Tracking some of the study room use, that's continued to remain pretty steady.
Yeah.
So the impact when you talk about, if
It's
there's fewer
different.
people coming in the building, does it affect staffing levels?
Yeah.
Absolutely. But if you look at the people that are coming into the building, the staffing interaction requirements are going up. So like the questions they ask are more involved, they're more technology related, that kind of thing. So we're spending more time working with the people that are coming into the building. So just to kind of keep that in mind. And one of the things that we're trying to get at with changing some of the statistics is to get a better idea of how people are using the building and using the staffing resources we have as well, so that we can make some of those decisions going forward. That, if we're getting, fewer demands for, say, hardcover books, do we start to move some of that money into other areas where we need it, that kind of thing. So, what we're really trying to gather here is better information about how people are using our facility and using our resources all, across the board.
Mhm.
Whereas in previous years, I know we've talked about this before, in previous years, we spent a lot of time and, we've looked at circ stats. And, that's kind of been our big thing is, and then when those started to go down and, technology has taken over so many different things, how does that affect, what we're doing in the library? So.
No, this tells a story to me,
Mhm.
so
Absolutely.
I hope everybody pays attention to it.
Well, and like I said, really, one of my big goals with redoing this was so that we could get a better grasp over the use of all of our materials and all of our resources, instead of focusing on just one or two things that maybe aren't they're still important, but maybe not as critical as they were, subsequent, previous years.
Yeah. So I'm seeing what's happening across the nation.
Yeah, it's very typical. We are not out of, we're not, there's nothing abnormal about this.
Yeah.
This is happening
All right.
around different places, yeah.
Is that all that our director has today?
I think so.
Anything from nothing? All right. Thank you. Anything from corporate counsel? All right. Want to continue talking about the 6200 building?
Sure. I haven't talked with anyone else about it. I know that Mark had reached out to Ralph.
I stopped in and talked briefly to Ralph, the village manager, and let him know that we are considering doing something other than putting that building to use for ourselves. So I told him we're exploring selling it, made him aware, also planted the idea in his head that if the village were to want to take over that property, turn into a parking lot, improve the line of sight on Lincoln and all of what we talked about at the previous meeting, he took a bunch of notes, said he would send his people over there to take a look and see if it would be a feasible parking lot. And he'd get back to us, and
He has not gotten back to me.
as
so.
of today, nothing.
There is a community leaders meeting next Tuesday that I will be attending, so obviously he's there and I can
Yeah,
see
nudge him
if
then.
if he's got any further information for us.
Yeah,
So, I would imagine we're just in a holding pattern until we know what.
if you can sell it,
Yeah,
but
if the village wants to do
village-
anything with it.
the village would have money in the TIF district to buy that from you.
Yeah, I mean,
And
As far as I'm concerned, well,
that's
doesn't
what,
matter.
So we don't have it on the market.
it's not on the market yet, because we were
Okay,
waiting,
okay.
Mark indicated at the last meeting to
I-
go up and.
if you're looking for a go ahead and put it up on the market, we could call a vote on something like that.
That's up to the
It's
board
on the
if
agenda.
you
So,
want to do that.
whatever
And I-
you wanna hold off, or you wanna just say, hey, let's,
I get what you wanted, I understand that, but if you put it on the market, then, and the village says, you know what, that's a great idea, we do wanna buy
then they
it.
can buy it.
Well, I know, but then we could give them a better deal because we're not paying the commission of the broker.
If you don't tell them that you're gonna proceed to put it on the market, they could also sit on their hands for 6 months.
Okay, well, that's, I
So
mean, you gotta do
there's
an alternative. Yeah.
everything has a consequence to it.
Mhm.
So inaction could hurt us and action
Yeah,
could
okay,
hurt us.
okay.
So if
It doesn't hurt to put it up for sale.
we let them know
Right.
that it's available and it's gonna take more than a week to even list it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So if we were to agree to let our director explore putting it up on the market,
Did you wanna get any
You just do
more,
that.
I've reached out to one other person that I've gotten a name from the village, and I
Okay.
haven't heard back from that person,
Okay.
so,
Yeah, I mean, if you just wanna.
I mean,
if
if
you
that's
wanna
again
get
up
on
to
the
the,
list
up to the
again.
board, if you wanna vote on, putting it up
Well, the
for sale
question
with the
would be-
broker that we got.
What would benefit the library more? By putting it up on the market, or giving the village, hey, we wanna hear from you by,
you,
May 1st, May 15th, are you interested?
next Friday, we need to know.
We'd like to know, we'd like to put it up on the market, but you can probably snatch it a little better.
But that's not for you to negotiate with them, really.
Mm,
Okay.
So, your public body, you can't really do little private negotiations. So,
Okay.
Well, how would that work though, Mark?
they'll have to approach us with a number,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't think there's much negotiating going on.
Well, there's no negotiating going on. I
I mean,
made them
even-
aware
Yes.
that we're willing to sell the building.
But even.
I planted a seed in their head that they could buy that property and turn it into a parking lot, which they really need if they want to revitalize Lincoln Avenue.
I would say list it, Pam can talk to him on
See what
Tuesday, and when we have,
Yeah.
it's formally listed, you can send them the listing.
And they
Right.
could bid, and
Okay.
we could say, we like it, and it's over.
Are you saying that they have enough money in the tip?
They have money in that TIF,
All right.
and that's what I'm saying, they have money in the TIF in order to be able to do that.
Could the village tie it up enough to where, I'm thinking eminent domaining it, but,
We're not gonna.
No, they're not going, no, that's our building and we can sell it, there's no, if they want
They
to
can't
buy
take
it.
it from us, I think
well,
is
yeah,
what
but
you're.
I take it at a very low.
No,
No.
you're offering the
No.
building for sale.
I see what
public
you're saying though,
market.
I mean, because they're also a public body, would they say, oh,
I'm not, sure. how
Eminent
that works.
domain.
Well, they can't, I mean, if they wanted that as a,
I mean,
in the
eminent
parking
domain,
lot
yeah.
and all the houses there, they could probably eminent domain the whole thing. They eminent domain a woman's house because they wanted to put the drive-through for Walgreens.
Yes.
She had them, sell her house, so they could do it, because they were getting more money from Walgreens than her taxes. Yeah,
I think what would be more likely is if the village were interested, they would probably try to come in with a lower offer.
They would talk to you real
And then
quick.
I would assume that would be what they would try to do if they were really interested.
right.
It's my feeling in the best interest, I mean, obviously, we wanna get as much as we can for it, because we have things that we would like to put that money towards as well, so.
But if it could help the village in their plan, it might be wonderful. You scratch my back, I'll scratch.
You'd be a great teammate if they could
Yeah,
do something with it and we could also use it for parking.
Right, I mean, some of it would just
We
depend
need
on,
parking.
if they were interested or had
Yeah.
the funds, and then what they were planning on doing with it, and,
Yeah.
would that be beneficial to us to reduce the price for them, or what, or not, so.
This village lacks parking everywhere, so they need parking lots.
I would list it in the meantime.
I would too.
So, and we'll have to have a motion.
To allow you to pursue,
Motion to put the
Listing.
6,200 building up for sale.
do we give a time frame for the village or not?
not in this motion,
Should we put it in a motion?
no, because then you're doing favoritism. You can't do favoritism, it's either for sale or not for
I
sale.
motion as myself. You want a
I
second?
So we want a motion to allow our director to place the 6,200 Lincoln building up for sale.
Yep,
So did we get a motion on that one?
yep, and Carlotta seconded
And we
it.
got a second from Carlotta. Are there any further questions, comments, or concerns on this? If none, could you call the roll, please?
Burke,
Yes, I will vote for it.
Callahan,
Yeah.
Gonzalez,
Yeah.
Gray, yes.
Greg?
Where is she?
Lady, Phil,
Yes.
Elmers.
Yes,
Yes, Louise.
all right. Okay, is
Okay.
it sold yet?
Yeah. It's been 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I
So,
will, I'll get on that. and-
all right, I
And
s-
certainly reach out if, you know, the village makes us a great offer on Tuesday or something like that.
yeah, all right, terrific. Open trustee positions was the next topic. I see we got a couple more
Yeah, we
people
have a
who are
couple more. I
applying.
believe that brings us to a total of 4 people
That's good.
for what will be,
Who's the
2.
fourth?
There's 2 in this
There's
package.
2 in this packet, and there were 2 in the last one.
Oh,
I
is
can't
there
remember.
another one?
Oh,
Not
yeah.
just- Okay.
Two
Wasn't
from
there 2
last
from
time.
last one?
Yeah.
Joanne, and I
Yeah.
can't remember the other person, and 2 from this month. So I included it, to, the new trustee, Emily, I can't ever say her last name,
Lisa Jan.
Lisa Jan. will be
Mesa Jan.
will be seated at the May meeting. This is your last meeting, correct?
Mhm.
You at the May
No, I
meeting?
think we have May
Until
and
the
then
new-
June, because the elections have to be certified. And
Well, I couldn't find, for district libraries they do. And the only thing I've seen for village libraries is 6 days, that's fine.
No,
I've been
I
trying to
thought,
find- No, I know, I thought so too, and I was trying to
I
find
thought
it
it
for
was
village
June
libraries.
was the swearing in.
According to the bylaws, it's
I
May.
was sworn in May.
Oh, is it May?
In the bylaws,
Oh,
it's
okay,
May.
then it's May.
So, yeah, I looked at them this afternoon because Ron and I were trying to find the date, and we found it for district libraries, it does say that they have to be certified, but I don't see anything for the village library.
Oh, they
But-
still have to be certified.
So, yeah, so within 60 days, so, but according to the bylaws, you're sworn in May, so.
Okay.
Just so you know, I only see Joanne's.
Okay, I'll double check, I think there's
Okay,
another
so if
one,
there's a
but,
4th one, I just.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember
Okay,
seeing another
maybe
one.
I'm thinking of something else too, so, my desk is a disaster right now, so. So it does say May, so you guys will be at the May meeting then, still, right? Or no?
I go either way.
Okay. In my research, I did not find, all I found in terms of, yes, obviously the elections need to be certified, but all I found for village libraries was that the new board members have to be sworn in within 60 days of the election.
I remember in May, 2 years ago, the gentleman who I replaced, I'm sorry, I don't remember his name, was there, and there was like somebody
Was
had
it
brought
Art?
some treats.
Art.
And
Goldstein.
they gave him his
Oh, his name
thing, which I'm sure he's.
So we did,
treasury.
that switch over in May?
Yeah,
All
and
right.
then he wasn't there after that.
Okay.
So we can
We
do
do it in
that,
May.
that's fine.
No, when the state just comes out and says, we certify the
Right,
results. It's
right.
no grand thing,
Right.
it's just,
But I couldn't find anything, and it's
Because
spelled
we're
out in
not-
statute for district libraries, but it's
Yeah.
not, a specific date isn't spelled out in it for village. So,
Yeah.
Do we wanna try and interview these people
that was
in person?
kind of why I
If-
put that on there, is that,
If we don't interview them, if she can maybe type this, so I read most of it, I think, but some of it was
where I can type it up.
easier to read.
Yeah. That being said, the other thing to consider is that, who on the board, if everyone here is going to be present as well as Emily, who on the board will be the people that are choosing the appointed positions?
I mean, I think it should be the people who are looking forward.
yeah, it's not Paul and it's not me.
No, I
Yeah,
agree with you.
yeah, because as of May, as soon as you appoint somebody new,
Right.
we're done,
Right.
that moment in time.
So we have to appoint pick from these 2 people, or 4 people?
Three or four people.
Well, you
yeah.
have to pick people that you feel would serve well on the board, and those 3 or 4 people might not be the right people
Right.
either.
Right.
So,
Are there more?
just,
So do we have to do it before meeting?
No, you don't, you
No.
can do it
Oh,
at
okay.
any time.
Okay.
But we probably wanna have them sworn in June, I would think, if we could, right?
Certainly you don't wanna have,
You
you know,
don't
the
want an
problem when
empty
you're,
board
because
for too long.
if you don't get people in, you'll have 5 board members. 4 is a quorum, so if, you know, Dr. Kellerman has to go out of town or something happens or whatever, you know, the fewer board members you have just on the board, the harder it's gonna be to make sure that you always have a quorum, so there's that. So I think the soonest you can, or the sooner you can get people appointed, the better. It's up to the board whether or not you want to set up interviews for everyone. From looking over these, I think all of the candidates were very good. I know Joanna's not here tonight, but she's been very interested all along. She was the first one to put in her application. So if you want me to try to arrange all 3 of these people to come in at various times, we can do that. If you want to do it as part of a regular board meeting, if you want to do a special board meeting, that's up to you. You don't have to decide that tonight. You can choose to decide, you can make the decision next month if you want to do that, since Emily will then be on the board.
I think we should meet with her, for sure.
Oh, yeah, I just, whoever is.
Can Emily meet them if she hasn't been sworn in, so we wouldn't be able to do it before the board meeting?
Right, you'd have to wait till she's sworn in and
Okay.
then, so.
So we either have to do it afterwards, the regular board meeting, or do a special meeting, which I'm fine either way.
I think you should wait till the seats are vacated,
Okay, that's.
just officially,
Right.
because you got liability issues
Right.
too.
But
So
that was kind of what I was
that way
thinking,
it's
and
just
just
all
wanted to
it's
have the discussion
2
about
empty
when-
chairs
That makes
and then pick your
Okay.
people to sit in them.
I think if we did 45 minutes and we assume they were each gonna talk 10 minutes, and then that would give us, or I guess an hour.
Well, we're losing 2 spots,
Yeah,
and Emily's taking one.
Are we
No, no,
losing?
no, we're losing
John
3.
John
Is
is right there.
Is John coming off too?
Yeah.
Okay. Then
So there'll be 2 empty chairs.
2 empty chairs.
And 3 or 4 people have
3
applied.
to 4 people. that have
Mhm,
applied.
mhm. Yeah.
I think it would, the only thing I would think it would be for you to, tell these people that we first have to have a meeting in May to have the full board, and immediately afterwards we will consider your.
Yeah, and I think in the
Yeah.
posting on the website said something about, you know, that the seats would be available after May or June,
Oh,
something
okay,
like that.
alright,
So
so
they're
what's-
aware that it
okay.
wasn't gonna happen
All
right
good.
away. And in fact, that posting, I know originally I had set a cutoff date, I think it was last Friday was the cutoff date, but I extended that through May, just in case there was anyone else that was interested. So that still is up, but I have not received anything, so.
I know it would be hard for me to meet the week after the board meeting, just because Bill will be in California that whole week, and I'd have to get a babysitter to come at night. But that following week, Monday through Thursday, I don't know if people want to talk about that now or not, or I guess Monday,
The board
Tuesday,
meeting
or
is what's the 11th?
the 11th,
The
yeah.
board meeting is the 11th.
Good credentials.
Yeah.
I could see if they could come on the 11th, if you want to do that.
I mean,
Like,
if,
you know, I mean, that makes it easier for you guys, because you already know that, you know,
Yeah.
you're scheduled to be here.
either that or the 22nd through the 24th would probably be the next time.
Why
I
don't
could come,
I?
and I can get a babysitter, but I just always prefer not to have to, if I don't have to.
So is the preference to try to do it on the 11th
After
after,
the
you know, as
regular-
part of the regular, you know, we can go closed session obviously, but,
That would be fine.
okay.
What, to interview, are you talking to interview them?
Mm-hmm.
May 11th?
I will reach out to them and ask if they're available. We'll plan 15 minutes each for them. And then if not, then we can look at alternate dates,
Okay.
you know, if that won't work for candidates.
If they're interested, they will come.
Right.
I do know there's an open house at Parkview that
Then
night,
they will
but
come.
Joanne's probably the only one who might be affected by that.
You know what, is that, okay. Would you guys be available before the meeting if we did a special board meeting and you interviewed them before? I'm thinking particularly if Joanne could come
Can we
earlier
do
than
that though
go.
without
Yeah, but
Emily
like-
was the
but then-
question though, if Emily's not.
Emily's
Oh, she's not
in,
seated
so
yet.
I don't know if she's in.
Yeah,
I didn't see, okay, yeah.
normally that's.
Right, yeah.
That would be
better,
nice.
yeah.
Well, let me see if they're available and then,
Okay.
you know, if not, then we can look at some alternate dates and I'll either call or email. So we'll all be here at the May meeting, and we'll make that switch. Correct. Okay. Okay, that was all I had about the
Yeah.
positions.
Okay.
I just wanted us all to kind of be on the same page with that, so.
When we did that,
Does anybody know these,
I know this guy.
this guy?
Yeah.
it's Rudy.
Okay. Could,
I read it as
can we
Rudy.
ask?
It is Rudy.
Well, I mean, what he, get her to read his writing, that's the problem.
I'll type it up, because I know
No,
Stephanie has too.
I think I got enough of it, and if we're gonna talk, I was just
Yeah.
if they weren't coming in,
Right,
yeah.
maybe having it typed, but if I thought it said Ruby, I see now that it says Ruby, if he's coming in, that'll be fine. I got enough of it for that.
I think they're strong candidates, all of
Yeah,
them.
no, they,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and maybe the fourth one is too.
Yeah. I could have sworn there was a fourth one, and I
Could be.
completely thinking about something else too, so my apologies.
All right,
Okay.
new business, per capita.
Just to give you an update on that, without anything really exciting, we actually got notified that we were awarded the per capita grant, but.
How many per capita is this time, 17?
Instead
of 21.
However, there's no funds to give us the grant yet, so we got it.
Hey, we figured that 2 years
So
Yeah.
we
ago.
won the lottery.
We figured 2 years ago, we started planning for no per capita.
So- Should,
Is this
should we
IOU,
receive
IOU
stripes
Jesse White?
twice? Pretty much.
The Cubs
Yeah.
already won the World
And
Series, so that's
so,
not gonna happen.
this year it would be, a little bit more than last year, so that would be good. $18,067.76. So last year was 17 something, so.
Still less than per capita.
This year it would be 0.77644 per
Yeah.
resident. Last year was 7.74,
Yeah.
something
Not
like
quite
that.
a resident.
So, that does say, please be aware that due to the continued state budget impasse, payment of these funds may be significantly delayed. As in previous years, the library may use these funds until the end of the following fiscal year, in this case until
We're
June
waiting for
30th,
the new
2018.
governor.
Okay, so if we don't get it till
Just don't stop the
That's
legislators'
June 18th,
paychecks.
okay.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
until the following year. We have-
So if we get it to May 18, we got a month to spend it.
we can spend it. So, and I'd have to look at the dates, I mean, and if they're significantly delayed, I think the state just says you didn't get them. And then, but if we got it before June 30th,
We did eventually get a check last year, didn't we?
yeah, we got two pretty close together, actually, but, I think if there's a delay in getting them, as long as the funds are encumbered, like we've planned for that, or we've, paid money on something, they're okay with that. But if it gets too late, they just say you didn't get it that year, so.
Oops.
But, yeah, so I just got this the other day and just thought I'd let you know that we got it, we filled out all the right pieces of paper, but no money yet, so. I know it is a tease, but,
Surprise.
yeah.
Yeah.
Check is in the mail.
So that was it, there was really no other
You
new
will receive
business,
it in December.
for this month,
All right.
so.
Any communications?
No, we did get well, today we did, which would be more appropriate for April, we got a lovely, email from someone commenting, complimenting one of the circulation staff about how helpful she had been and how much they liked the library, and the staff was really great. So
Awesome.
I'll have that for next month.
Does anybody look on the website? I mean, I just happen to be looking at it, and there is people give comments about a lot of things about this library. It goes
Like
back
on
to
Facebook and stuff?
2013, I think.
On Facebook or the website?
No, it was on the website. I don't have Facebook, it's gotta be on the website. And it was kind of interesting, because you got the 2013, and they were saying this place is too small and it needs to be improved. I'm looking and I'm going, it's already improved, but I looked at the date, it was 2013, so, it's kind of interesting. You know, people do comment.
They do. We get a lot of comments on Facebook and.
Not Facebook, because I'm not on Facebook, so
It's on
it's
the website.
some website, I'm telling you, it's.
I never noticed that.
I haven't either. Okay, I have to go look.
You're not on Facebook, at least you can.
I know there's like Google reviews and that kind of thing, is that what
I
you're
think it
thinking
was
of?
probably, I don't know if it was, it could
might
have
be
been a
like a
Yelp thing
Google
or
or a-
something,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
I
it
mean,
was very
yeah.
interesting, they do, it's on there. you know.
Oh, yeah, there are Google reviews and that kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not specifically on our website,
Oh,
but they're
right,
on the
right, right,
internet.
you
Yeah.
go from our website to that, I think, or something.
Yeah, I
I
think
can't remember how I did it.
We look at them, we try to be good all the time.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it's like you wanna look, but I hope they're always good.
Yeah.
No, actually, most people are
Look
very.
at the stars before you
I
read
know,
it.
it's like if it's, yeah. Yeah, so, that's about it.
Okay, we have no public for public comments? No need for an executive session tonight? Then do we have a motion
Oh,
to adjourn?
adjourn.
I have one
Yes.
question,
Or no,
I'm
What?
sorry.
I have one question on this huge book that I have. Should I purge it? Should I keep things that are pertinent to the next person? And turn
That
it
would
into
be, that would be
some
really
blank?
helpful.
Because that's why I would purge it, except for all the policy stuff and all the
Yeah.
other things that are in there.
That would be great, for those of you that are not, if you wanna bring your binders next month, then I'll be happy to take those back, or you can keep them either way, but if you
can have
My
it-
binder finally gave out.
did it.
Mine, I
The rings
repaired
aren't
it,
even getting
I
close.
repaired it today.
Yeah.
We can get additional ones,
You
but
can get another binder.
it might be useful for
After
incoming
5
trustees
years
to
and
kind of
8
see
months,
some
That's all
previous
the other
months,
stuff
and,
that
yeah.
would be in
You
there.
made it nice and well arranged, so you
I,
can donate
it's,
it.
well, yeah, it's got, I don't
Mine
think,
is in the box.
I don't, I don't think it's
Or if there's
worth,
just some things that you wanna bring back, and we can shred them for you or whatever, we're happy to do that, so.
I'll go over and see if that would be pertinent to the next person.
So the only other thing that Carlotta had said, we can probably adjourn, it's not board well a little bit, Carlotta had asked about Barb, and Paul had actually spoken with Barb on Monday.
You were always that
And,
big.
do you know what?
she's at the White
I
Hall.
believe she's at the White Hall in Deerfield.
Oh,
Actually, you can adjourn and turn that tape
Yeah,
off so it
let's
doesn't
do that.
become part of history. Motion to adjourn, please, in a second. Thank you very much,
8:13.
everybody.
I'd like to second the motion.
Okay, you did.
Nice.